hop, what's good? Hip hop, what is good? This is the honorable mention episode for season 4, the new Millennium. We are talking about Mr. Sean Corey Carter, otherwise known as Jay-Z in the 2000s. Now, the reason why I chose Jay-Z in the 2000s for season 4, we're looking in front of me, lots of obvious reasons. If you go back or if you were around hip hop in the 2000s, Jay-Z dropped an album nearly every other year or so and was a significant staple in hip hop. And the reason why I'm sending off to the, I guess it would be to the viewers, right-hand side of the screen, because I want you all to see this gentleman here behind me. And what this is when Jay-Z was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on October 30th, 2021. That is a very significant day. Dave Chappelle inducted him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer, ladies and gentlemen. Let me repeat that one more time. First ballot Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. Do you know how hard it is to be a first ballot Rock and Roll Hall of Famer as a hip hop artist? I don't think you all understand the pressure and the significance you need to have on the culture of music to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. LL Cool J got in that same night. But it was LL Cool J's, I think, 7th or 8th time being passed over to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Jay-Z got in on the first ballot. So I'm going to just leave it there. So we're going to talk about Hall of Fame Hove. And on this particular episode, I brought two queens with me, two ladies that are very well versed in hip hop. One of them is Samantha Leavell, who this will be your third time seeing and listening to her on a platform. She is from Certified Nation Entertainment, and Sam is like the Swiss Army knife. I mean, she does it all. She is so busy, and I'm so happy to have her spend time on the platform with us today. She was on the Tribe Called Quest episode. Go back and look at that. And go back and listen to me and her have a conversation about Missy Elliott back in season 3. So you all go back, do your homework, go check it out. How wonderful this lady is. She's a fan favorite. Mom and Dad, I told y'all bring Sam back. I told y'all. And the other lady that I had with me all the way from down under is Miss Hennessey. And Miss Hennessey does a lot of things in Australia when it comes to hip hop, music culture. She has her own podcast as well, which I don't want to steal her thunder. She's going to come on here and talk about those two things and what she has going on in hip hop and what her contributions to the culture is as well. So without further ado, I'm going to bring these ladies in so you all can meet them. And we're going to have Sam go first. And Sam, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time zone you in. I keep forgetting you in Seattle, Washington. Please reintroduce yourself to the audience, queen. What's good, mama?
Hey, I'm feeling good, feeling great. You know, it's a good day. Definitely a good day.
It's always a good day. Happy holidays to you and your family as well. And then good evening. Oh, wait, good afternoon. To Miss Hennessey. I want to introduce Miss Hennessey to the audience. This is her first time being on the platform, but I don't think it'd be the last. So Miss Hennessey, do my audience a favor, introduce yourself, how you and how do you are involved in hip hop? What's your relationship with hip hop?
Thank you for having me on the show, Rob. Hello to Samantha, and hello to all of your amazing viewers out there. Yes, Miss Hennessey right here from Sydney, Australia. It is about 12:42 p.m. right here on Monday. So like I said earlier, I am coming to you from the future, and you're all looking pretty fine right now in these little boxes. So I have a very, very long love affair with hip hop. I've been in the hip hop industry out here in Australia for the last 25 or so years. I started off on radio and obviously moved my way through, you know, writing about hip hop, interviewing artists, some music journalism side of stuff, and then of course becoming a hip hop DJ as well, so club DJ, and kind of doing my thing there, representing for the ladies wherever I can. I'm now a published author of 2 books. I'm a self-published, I own my own self-publishing imprint as well. So yeah, just helping to promote the culture and, you know, keep the voice alive, basically is all that I'm all about hip hop education right now too.
I think that's wonderful, Miss Hennessey and Sam. Thank you both for being on this evening. One of the things that we talked about before we started, you guys, and I mentioned this last week, the most fun time about the episodes that we tape is before the show and after the show. Before the show, we talked about the word gatekeeper. Gatekeepers are, you know, depending upon how you interpret that, are individuals that are responsible for the essence and preservation rather of the culture. And I think that between the three of us and many others like us all across the world love hip hop, and we're the gatekeepers, right? We're the ones that say this is what's acceptable, this is what the new wave is, and these are the individuals that we need to celebrate, and Sean Corey Carter is a part of the hip hop story. So if anybody saw Jay-Z, when he got his acceptance speech for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he talked about how hip-hop was going to be a fad, how it was going to die off, how it was never going to last. And here we are, nearly 40-something years later, is still alive and kicking, more popular than ever. If Miss Hennessey is on the call right now, we're popular than ever. We're in Australia. We're in all parts of the globe. And this is great to see how far it has expanded. But before we even jump into that, I do want to give a short rest in peace to Kango Kid from UTFO, who lost his life this past weekend. So another hip hop legend gone too soon. So rest in peace to that young brother, who I remember seeing him watching say the song Roxanne back in the day, man. So I do want to send condolences to him and his family, and all the others that we have lost in 2021 to the hip hop and hip hop culture. So rest in peace to that king. So before we get going into that, let's talk about Jay-Z real quick, right? So Jay-Z dropped 7 albums within the 2000s time frame. First one up is The Dynasty. Released in October 2000, 2 times platinum, 4.5 mic from the source. Why did that get 4.5 mic source? I don't know. That's kind of an iffy one, but we'll see about that. Some of the hits everybody knows. I Just Want to Love You. This Can't Be Life. Stick to the Script. You, Me, Him, and Her. Parking Lot Pimpin', 1-900 Hustler, Where Have You Been? And one of the things I want to talk to you all about with the Dynasty album is the what I would say the unsung hero of that album is Beanie Sigel. If you go back and listen to that album, you guys, Beanie Sigel dropped some of the dopest verses in the history of hip hop on that album. Go back, go listen to it. You'll be, reconnected with Beanie Sigel and him on 3 songs I wrote down in particular. His verse on This Can't Be Life, his verse on You, Me, Him, and Her, and his verse on Where Have You Been, where the man is literally crying on the track about his dad. You talk about leaving emotions on the track. You cannot do it any better than Beanie Sigel did on that particular song. So definitely go back and do your homework, you guys, about Beanie Sigel. I'm going to come back to him later on in this episode. After that, September 11, 2001, a very significant day in American culture, was when the Twin Towers fell. I remember exactly what I was doing, watching it on TV, but it was also the day that Jay-Z dropped his second 5-mic album, The Blueprint. And The Blueprint is probably what I would say one of the best pieces of artwork that we've ever seen in hip hop. 2 times platinum. Rolling Stone magazine rated it number 50 on their top 500 list of music on last year's list. We all know the hits: Takeover, Izzo, Girls, 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 You Don't Know, Hola Jovito, and also one of the other tracks on there that I like is All I Need and Renegade, which has that guest verse from Eminem, of course. And it is also in 2019 an album that went to the Library of Congress for its significance to music and culture. So it's one of the few hip hop albums in the Library of Congress in the United States. So there's that. We'll leave it at that. Next up, we got The Blueprint 2, The Gift and the Curse, a double disc, Jay-Z's first double disc that we had, released in November 2002. Of course, I'm not going to name all the songs off of there. I mean, you all know the hits. He starts off with The Dream, talking about him and Big and Faith Evans. Hobie Baby, The Watcher 2, which has a dope verse from Rakim. 03, Bonnie and Clyde, him and Beyonce, Excuse Me, Miss. Poppin' Tags, I Did It My Way, Diamonds Forever, You Don't Know remix with Lil Fame and Billy Dance of MOP, Meet the Parents, Blueprint 2, and one of my favorite songs is N-Word Please, produced by the Neptunes. That's my joint right there. But that was released, a 3-time platinum album, released in November 2002. And then we get to the Black Album. Very much like I think that was a kind of like the parallel between the Beatles and the White Album. That's kind of what Jay-Z wanted to do with it. It was more like his retirement party. He was leaving hip hop. He was leaving, going on doing other ventures. Released in November 2003. We got 4 mics from the source, 3 times platinum. You all know the songs off of there as well. What more can I say? Encore, Change Clothes, Dirt Off Your Soldiers, 99 Problems. My favorite is PSA and Lucifer, produced by Mr. Kanye West. So that's one of my favorite albums. And then Jay-Z goes into retirement for 2 years, right? He goes into retirement for 2 years. He comes back with Kingdom Come, November 2006. 4.5 mics from the source, double platinum. Show Me What You Got, Lost Ones, 30-something. I think I made it. I made it, Mom. Anything in Hollywood, which is also him and Beyonce. And then after that, all right, two more ladies, if we'll get there. Two more, and this is what I'm going to say about the American Gangster in November 2007. American Gangster is the best hip-hop concept album of all time, in my opinion. There is no other hip-hop album in regards to a concept. When you think about the concept albums, you can think of Only Good for Cuban Links, you can think of some of the other ones. The best one of them all is American Gangster. Top to bottom, lyrics are on point, beats are on point, produced mostly by Sean Diddy Combs. So there's a lot of good music on this one, you guys. Pray, American Dreamin', Hello Brooklyn with Lil Wayne. We have, and the winner is the Rock Boys. I Know. My favorite is Party Life. Ignorant Shit with another track or verse from Beanie Siegel, who just literally kills it. Say Hello, Success with Nas, and of course Blue Magic and Dead Presidents 3. And then the last one in the 2000s, ladies, is Blueprint 3, released in September 2009, which was 4 mics from the source, 1-time platinum, which is actually one of Jay-Z's best albums is the Blueprint 3. Not one, I was maybe in the top 5. I would say starts out with what we'll be talking about. Just talking about the industry as a whole. There's a lot of shift in music and culture at the time. He talked about a lot of different elements. Thank You, DOA, Run This Town, Empire State of Mind, which is a huge hit with him and Alicia Keys. On to the next one, A Star Is Born. When I first time I heard J. Cole on the track, who is a superstar now, Already Home, So Ambitious, and Young Forever is the premise for our conversation for this episode, for the honorable mention of season 4. So, that was a mouthful, right? Look, I'm gonna pass it over to the ladies first, and the first question I have is for Miss Samantha Leavell. Always good to see you, Sam. You're a fan favorite. The fans love you. My mom and dad love you, so I'm glad to have you back here. And the first question I have, Sam, is out of those 7 albums, which one do you find yourself going back to? Which one brings you the most memories that you connect to the most?
Okay, well, the Blueprint 1, I would say this because 2001, number 1, brings back a lot of memories. My first apartment, September 11th was a very significant day. Right. Also, let's remember, we were still mourning the loss of Aaliyah, who had passed 2 weeks prior. Fast. So we're dealing with all of that and then still having this excitement with hip hop. So then he came out with the Blueprint on a very significant day. Yeah. And listening to it, you had song cry. I mean, I cried hearing that song just because I'm mourning Aaliyah. I'm mourning September 11th. It's memorable. Of course, like you said, Renegade with Eminem. Yeah. I mean, that was amazing. Now we know Eminem did his thing, though. That could be up for debate, but Eminem, he kind of did his thing on that album.
We talked about that last week. He did
his thing. So I think that for me, it set, I think, the precedent for, Jay-Z coming into the 2000s. And then you made an interesting point, 7 albums in the 2000s. Well, 7 is the number of completion when you think about that.
Yes.
So I think, but that for me, that really, I think, just start to set it off because that was just at a period where we were going through so much.
Thinking about that, Miss Hennessey, think about the time in hip hop when the Blueprint came out. Jay-Z was... did the Summer Jam thing. He did some very unpopular things. With Mobb Deep and Call It Out Nas, which were the birth of the beef came for him and Nas, which I think was probably one of the best hip hop beefs in history. But same question though, Miss Hennessey, which Jay-Z album in the 2000s do you find yourself going back to? And you mentioned you were a DJ, so when you spinning records and you're cutting and scratching and mixing. And you think of a Jay-Z song or a Jay-Z album, which one do you go find yourself going back to when spinning that record or album every now and again?
I think for me, I would probably say The Dynasty was the one that I would constantly go back to because that was the one that I think really landed Jay-Z sort of here as a major hip hop player at the time. Now, obviously, he had a career well before that, but obviously understanding, with Australia's take on sort of watching the big heavy hitters in hip hop, that album was the definitive game changer here for a lot of DJs. And I had a pivotal role in introducing that album here to a lot of our club DJs. Obviously, making a trip to, hip hop Mecca, New York City back in 2000 for myself as this fresh-faced, hip hop radio, presenter, wanting to understand a little bit more about the distribution of hip hop into the right hands and into the right DJ's hands here. You got to understand, we didn't have A&R, or like marketing departments like you guys had in the US. So we're talking major labels like obviously Universal, Def Jam, Bad Boy, and you've got dedicated A&R people dedicating their time to send the right music to the right DJs. I felt I needed to find this out, maybe investigate, and my journalism career started off with that trip, and I will always look back on that trip as the game changer for me. So the Dynasty album, definitely, that got major spins out here for him, and it really, really raised Jay-Z's incredible stardom out here to really, really lofty heights. I would say then for me, and one of my favorite songs of that album, which I to this day still play, is Change the Game. I absolutely love that track. It is fire. It just has and I know it's almost like an introductory vibe, but everything about that track is just fire. And then obviously the Blueprint, The Gift and the Curse is the one for me. It was the album that I loved the Blueprint, but I found myself connecting more with The Gift and the Curse. There were more, I like the fact that with each disc, there was sort of female flavored vibes on one disc and real kind of masculine vibes on the other. And being a female DJ in hip hop, I was drawn to that. Excuse Me Miss, all those kind of sexy tracks, loved it. And obviously my radio show was called The Blueprint, and in homage to Jay-Z. So those two albums would definitely be the ones that I will always go back to.
So with that in mind, ladies, let's transition to the Black Album. So once Jay-Z did, I think it was Blueprint 2.1, which like a combination of both of the albums together. It was kind of I feel like it was a compilation album. He really didn't need to do it, but whatever. Maybe a contractual obligation. Who knows? But so we get past the Blueprint 2.1. We arrive at the Black Album, and then when we get to the Black Album, we thought that Jay-Z was going to retire. He did like a big concert at Madison Square Garden. He did like this DVD. Well, those of us remember DVDs back in the day. He did a big DVD about it, a big concert. So Sam, talk to me about your relationship with the Black Album. Where were you? What do you remember? What are your standout tracks that you connect with the Black Album?
Yeah, I was back living on the East Coast with the Black Album, but yeah, that was incredible album. Encore, of course. I was like, wow, that would have been, had he retired, that would have been a very dope closeout. You know what I'm saying? Because, can I get an encore? So even if, let's say that would have been his last album, he had so much of a catalog already, that he could have kept going. Lucifer, that was some controversial to some people, but that was dope.
It was dope.
You know what I'm saying? It was dope. Everybody was saying, oh, he's a part of this Illuminati and all this crazy stuff and everything. But that was dope. You got to make songs that'll have people talking and make them think. So that was very successful. December 4th. I just kind of like how, that kind of went. And Allure, too, was another one. Allure was on that kind of mature kind of, I was like, okay, this man has grown up. Yeah. So definitely another dope album that I'll go back to.
Yeah, I love the Black Album as well too. One of my favorite songs on there is I think it's the PSA. So it's like the 2 minute allow me to reintroduce myself. Like that goes hard. I don't know what Just Blaze was doing, but that goes hard. That goes so hard. There's just something about the way he comes into that, and we talk about Jay-Z's flow. We talk about how he's, some people say he's arrogant, some say he's flamboyant, but that's just Jay. Jay's been that way since he first came into the scene. Since this album, he was saying he was the man and he's the best. He was flamboyant about it, and I don't think he's ever changed. He's never going to change that part, and I think that's great. And to transition that into the business side of it, and that's, we started getting into more of the ventures. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Miss Hennessey on this. And Miss Hennessey, talk about your relationship with the Black Album and any of the other ones after that, either Kingdom Come or American Gangster or the Blueprint 3. Any of those other albums that stand out to you that you want to discuss to the audience?
Yeah, sure. I absolutely agree with Samantha on those song choices on the Black album. It was phenomenal. I mean, and everyone hit differently. Every single one of those tracks hit you differently, depending on what you were going through in your life at the time. I remembered obviously being on radio for about 10 years at that stage. So where I started off with my relationship with Jay-Z's music, with the dynasty and what that meant to me,
Yeah.
to see his transition from, he's always been arrogant, wonderfully so. That's him, right? He's never changed. In fact, he's just actually grown more into it, and it just is what it is. But you've got to have the, you have to have a reason behind that. And, some people are just ignorant because they got no other way to be, but he has obviously lived a different life than a lot of us would ever imagine. So that's what it is. And I found the Black album wonderfully arrogant, if I could say that. 99 problems. I mean, really, that's the gift that just keeps on giving, because there are 99 problems, and whatever it is isn't one. So I just loved his cavalierness with that. But with everything that Jay-Z does, there's always a message, whether you want to hear it or not. And I think the Black album delivered quite a punch. And the next favorite one of mine after that, Kingdom Come, kind of hit and miss for me. He was starting to go down that Hollywood vibe, which I know we'll probably talk about a little bit later. And look, every artist goes through those paths. But American Gangster, I mean, come on, like it's lyrical gold. And with an opening, of course, from who would then come up to, later be an incredible artist himself and an incredible actor, Idris Elba. To have him opening, this is Black excellence here on a whole
Absolutely.
Level. So, those two would definitely be it for me. I enjoyed the Blueprint 3, but no more so than The Gift and the Curse. But Black album is Black excellence in my.
And you know what? That makes me think about something. When you talk about imagery, and Miss Hennessey. So one of the things, if you guys go back and listen and look at the 99 Problems music video. In the music video, you see Jay-Z get shot up and he's about to go down and he dies. And I think that was the image of, okay, this is me, retiring from Jay-Z and being Sean Carter. That was what the imagery was about, right? So him actually retiring and killing off Jay-Z and becoming Sean Carter. It's all about the imagery, and that's why that video and that song it's so much more to hip hop than just a whatever he's talking about. And that's why Jay-Z has so many layers. There's layers to this, ladies and gentlemen. Jay-Z is a top 5 dead or alive MC first and foremost, right? So when you get to that top tier level, you're gonna say some stuff. You're gonna have to rewind and go back and listen. Oh, well, what did you say again? Prime example. American Gangster. He has a song on there called "A Party Life." One of my favorite songs on there is "A Party Life." And if you are listening close to "The Party Life," he's being, he's all talking about celebratory, and he's been, doing his Jay-Z thing, and he's very vibey. The song is dope as hell. First off, so you listen to "The Party Life," it's real catchy. I think it has a Marvin Gaye flip on it as well. But then he says something like, "I sport fly shit, I should win an ESPY." I'm like, whoa. You're like, whoa. I said, whoa, okay. That's a whole nother level, to equate fly shit, sports shit with ESPYs. Like, okay, now who's gonna think about stuff like that, right? So only Eminem or Jay-Z or somebody at the top tier that can put those things together. So absolutely spot on, Miss Hennessey, when it comes to the best concept album in hip hop, in my opinion, is American Gangster. Period. I don't think there's any other one that comes close to it. And I have the same relationship that you have as well, Miss Hennessey, when it comes to Blueprint 3. I played Blueprint 3 a lot when it first came out. I'm a huge fan of Blueprint 3. I love the entire album. Is pretty much the reemergence of Kanye West. As an artist, Rihanna was on there as well. Alicia Keys had some big anthem songs on there. So I had a great run in the 2000s. But I want to fast forward a little bit, and the reason I want to fast forward is because he made an album, and I think it was maybe 2015, 2016, called 444. I want to talk about that specific album because when Jay-Z got to a certain point of his life, he started to reflect back and started to think about things that were going on, whether it was in his personal life or how he was being impactful to the Black community. He talked about a lot of different topics that he didn't talk about before. So with that in mind, Sam, I want to ask you this real quick before we get into the last topic of discussion. When you think about Jay-Z and his maturation process, how do you think he had pulled this off from talking about those albums in the 2000s getting to 444? Like, how do you see that maturation process happen in front of our own eyes, in front of the world to see as Jay-Z the artist?
I think just living life. You know what I mean? Like in the early 2000s, he was still, fairly young, kind of on that party tip, not really attached, no kids and things like that,
Right.
But then you get older, you mature, you go through things in life, you want to talk about it, and then you start to care more about certain issues going on within your community. Right. And such, which we've seen. So I think he just wanted to really get on his grown man stance and be like, I'm gonna talk about this. He said it could be risky because you know how the industry is. Sometimes they don't want you to open your mouth about certain things, but he said, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So I think it's just life, just getting older, but still showing he got it, but just taking a moment to really say what he wanted to say.
Yeah, and I think that's important. That's important to me, to any artist. One of the things that we talked about a couple weeks back with Kanye West, when Kanye West dropped the Graduation album, that was the end, ladies and gentlemen, of gangster rap, right? So gangster rap died on September 11, 2007, when the Graduation album came out. So with that in mind, now that opened the door for all different types of topics for hip hop artists to explore, whether you're young, old. And Jay-Z talked about his life experience by the time he got to 444. He was a grown man. He had 2 kids. He had a wife, and he had gone through some things that lots of other regular folks go through. And he talked about that. So, Ms. Hennessey, same question. When you think about 444 and the maturation process of Jay-Z, what's your opinion about that?
444, it took some time to grow on me because I was stuck on early Jay-Z, right? The Jay-Z that we're currently focused on right now. So it took me some time because obviously, and I know we're going to talk about this a little later on, but, with the merging of these, the 2 incredible artists that, end up in this marital situation, Beyonce and Jay-Z, his whole outlook on life changed, and rightfully so. Just to echo what Samantha had said, there was a different level to him that I always believe existed. It just wasn't the right time for him back then to show it to us. Now, 444 was. There were a couple of sort of hit and miss, vibes that I really wasn't connected to, but I think I was stuck on the artist and not the man. Yeah. Right? Because there's the artist and the man. Very often, are they always the same person? But I think as you mature and as you get older, you eventually morph into what you're always meant to be. And I believe that is Jay-Z's ultimate game. He was always meant to be exactly who he is, where he is right now, regardless of the roads that he took. And I think 444 was literally his letter to himself, to a younger Jay-Z. This is what's going to happen, brother. This is what you're going through. These are the ills that are going to happen. You're going to hit a road with your wife. She's going to make an album and you're going to make an album. And the world is going to realize that the 2 of you are humans, superhuman maybe sometimes, but you're human beings that are just trying to navigate this thing called life. So I think it was a brilliant album. It just wasn't the Jay-Z that a lot of us were used to until you got around the maturing.
I 1000% agree with that, because I was one of those skeptics, right? When I first heard 444, I was like, I don't really like this, man. This ain't the Jay that I'm accustomed to. But when you listen to the content, when you listen to, first off, shout out to No ID, the production who produced the entire album. Shout out to No ID, who did his damn thing on the album. Just every song is very crafted to go along with Jay-Z's flow and his style and what he was going through. I think he captured everything Jay was trying to say. And I didn't really catch it the first 4 or 5 times, right, Miss Hennessey? The first few times, like, man, like, this ain't what I'm used to. But then as you listen to it, as you get a little bit, you let what I say, Sam, let life kick you around in the ass a little bit. Yes. And you start going through some things like, oh, okay, that's why he said credit is so important, right? That's what he's talking about. Yep. So like, it's, you don't really understand it until you get a little bit older. And I think it's just showing the brilliance of Jay-Z, just the brilliance. And I know it's outside of our scope, ladies and gentlemen, when I talk about him and we're outside of 2000s, but the 444 album, I was the same way. I didn't really resonate with it when I first heard it. But it talks about this, the maturation process of a man, just any other person that's going through life, that goes through things, that has a family, that has all these things going on around their life. And to talk about the elephant in the room, his relationship with Beyonce. And that is going to bring us to our last point. And I'm going to pass the mic over to Sam for this one. And Sam, when you think about the relationship between Jay-Z and Beyonce, probably the most powerful couple in music, period, right? So let's get that out the way. So, but when you think about the early points, Beyonce and Destiny's Child was kind of rising, in the early 2000s. Jay was already a megastar in hip hop. And they got together, they were dating, there was speculation they were dating and they were making songs together. Then they got married, and then, the whole thing with the debacle with the, the elevator incident and all this other stuff started to come out. But I want to talk about that particular part in Jay-Z's career, because not only is it a part of his personal life, but it's also part of his musical career now too. So what do you think the connection is, Sam, between him marrying Beyonce and how it connected with him as an artist and his music?
Very good question. Well, as we all know, Beyonce is a mega star,
Absolutely.
a queen in her own right. But, Jay-Z is still, a great goat of hip hop. But I think with them coming together, it almost became a media circus in a way. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody wanted to kind of keep up with the relationship. And I know Maxine's going to touch on, Miss Hennessey's going to touch on this a little later about, being called, Beyonce's husband instead of that's Jay-Z and Beyonce. And then the whole thing with, Jay-Z's maturity, they all just credit that to Beyonce. But, no, he's a man. He's a grown man. I'm sure he's had other experience aside from just her to really grow up. And now they're like, oh, well, he's got the grown out hair. He's got the more, the suits and everything on. He's a little bit more, I guess, tame, if you will. And they're trying to attribute that to Beyonce. But I don't necessarily think that. I think, he kind of helped pave her career, I think, coming off the Destiny's Child, her becoming a solo artist. But I think when they linked together and then he's starting to mention her, I think it was kind of that was kind of a nice little PR move, because you remember he had some videos, you see like a little short clip of her, B and everything. And so I think that kind of helped launch her career too. So you got to give credit to Jay-Z for that as well.
Absolutely. Which brings me to a point that I'm passing to Miss Hennessey on this. So when Beyonce's first big solo hit came out, Crazy in Love, who was featured on the song? It was Jay-Z. Right? One could argue that Jay-Z might be responsible for Beyonce's independent success, but others could say that she's just talented. She's a queen, and she would have got it done even if she wasn't married to Jay-Z. And you can say that as well too, right? I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, but I do think their connection does have a lot of eyes on them. And I want to let Miss Hennessey get the last point on this. Miss Hennessey, what is the relationship between Jay-Z and Beyonce and their creative process, their music, and how does their relationship shape and mold our culture, our hip hop culture? We're talking about Beyonce, pretty much being the queen of hip hop, and in essence, kind of sort of, because she's married to Jay-Z, right? So is that fair, or how do we interpret that?
Look, it's a great question, and it's an incredible icebreaker for people who might not understand how to enter into the hip hop world, so they might ride on Beyonce's tail coats, especially out here. Look, Australia is a huge, hip hop loving, country. We have an incredible local hip hop community here, with a lot of local hip hop artists all honoring Jay-Z as being one of their biggest inspirations. But when it comes to, the real truth, who's going to star out a show here in Australia? Is it Beyonce or is it Jay-Z? Well, it's going to be it's going to be Beyonce, because the numbers are obviously more for the pop side of things than they are for the hip hop side of things. Jay-Z's been here twice. He sold out. He shows he was phenomenal. It's Jay-Z, right? The issue that I've always had with it, and I love the both of them. Beyonce's a queen. She has redefined queendom in terms of, being this incredible icon when it comes to performing and creating this narrative. And she is a proud Black woman, which I absolutely love. She's fearless about it. She doesn't care where in the world she is. She represents for her culture, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
But I do believe that when it comes to the media representation of Jay-Z and Beyonce, yes, they're a couple, but the power that the pair of them have, she would have been okay had she not been with Jay, and Jay would have been okay had he not been with B. Together, they're an enigmatic force that belong together, But I don't believe that either one should be introduced as the other one's partner. They are powerful solo entities who have just come together to create this incredible world. So the biggest thing for me when I look at it from a hip-hop journalist perspective in a country like Australia that is still growing in its acceptance of hip-hop being a major genre, to introduce somebody with Jay-Z's stature as just Beyonce's husband would really irritate me a lot, because you're diminishing the power and you're diminishing the sheer historical magnitude that this man has for the vehicle of hip-hop. It doesn't take anything away from their union, but I think, you know, honor and respect need to be really, really had when you're you know, referencing somebody such as him. So to echo what Samantha said, yes, absolutely, I do believe that if you watched his career closely as you've watched Beyonce's, you know that as she shifted from the goodness of Destiny's Child into her fierce, you know, her fierceness of Beyonce, a little injection from her superstar husband really did help. And I think that should never be overlooked. So, yeah, he's not just her husband. Let's give Jay-Z his props and introduce him as the man who deserves that honor.
Yeah, I heard it. Put some respect on that man's name. Basically, is what she's trying to say, y'all. Put some respect on Sean Corey Carter's name, man. This man is an icon. This man is one of the best MCs that ever walked the planet Earth. And that's why I'm doing an honorable mention of Jay. So Jay-Z is the only one that I've done 2 episodes on. That's how significant this man is to hip hop. So I could not have gotten away with the 2000s or get out of the 2000s without talking about Jay-Z's imprint, his impact is felt and is still being felt. And we honor Jay-Z. We honor Beyonce as well. Beyonce is the true queen. If you had any type of royalty in music, it would definitely be Beyonce. I mean, let's just be real. But we talk about hip hop music, hip hop stars or hip hop superstars. Jay-Z is at the topper echelon, and he is celebrated. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know what more can the man do? I mean, once you get to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you guys, I think you've reached the pinnacle of what you can do as far as your career goes. But I think the man still have enough more to do. He has more life to give. He may not do much more music. We'll see. I hope he does, but we'll see. But his impact is always felt. And ladies, that's going to bring us to the end of our discussion about Jay-Z in the 2000s. So how we have been doing in season 4 is paying homage to the life and memory of Breonna Taylor. And I mentioned this last week when I talked about Eminem and why I chose Breonna Taylor for season 4. And there are too many reasons to explain. You guys could watch that from last week. I'll talk about Eminem, but Breonna Taylor, what happened to her was an American travesty, and we want to honor Breonna Taylor and all of the others that we have lost in the United States due to social injustice. So, ladies, if you would accompany me with your right arm in the air one last time for a chant for Miss Breonna Taylor. So I'm going to say justice for. You say Breonna Taylor. We'll say that 3 times and make sure that her life and memory stays lit forever. So one time, justice for
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
Justice for
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
Justice for
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor, rest in peace, my mom. We miss you. We love you. And thank you. And rest in peace to all the others that we have lost in the United States due to social injustice. So with that being said, ladies, it is time for shout outs. I think I'm going to Sam go last. We'll let our new member join us here first. This is Miss Hennessey's first time on the platform. But like I mentioned, I don't think it'll be the last time you'll hear from our friend from down under. So Miss Hennessey, who are your shout outs going to this week? Happy holidays to you as well, too. So who are your shout outs going to this week?
Thank you. Well, I definitely love to shout out, you guys for this incredible platform.
Thank you.
Created and that you're growing so well, and to obviously the beautiful Samantha Leavell. I'm so happy to have met you and to connect with such great spirits as yourself. And just shout out to everybody that's obviously watching. My family in the US. I'll have to send you the link so you can watch it. And of course to my awesome hubby, my husband, who's always holding me down. Big shout out to him, to our beautiful sons and my family, and of course to DJ D for initially connecting me with you guys. So she's another incredible female DJ out here in Sydney, Australia. She's a real OG, so big shout out to her as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mama. We appreciate you. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. We hope to see you in the future when we come back for season 5 in 2022, Miss Samantha Leavell, my good man. When I would think about Sam, you guys, I think about class. I think about grace. I think about knowledge. She's just one classy lady. So thank you, Sam, for coming on board for the third appearance on our platform. Who are your shout outs going to, ma'am?
Hey, well, humbled again to be on for the third time. Big shout out to you and Jess. I love y'all family. Big shout out to your parents. Much love to them. So
I told you, Ma. I told you.
So shout out. I hope I can, meet them one day. Give them big hugs. Shout out to Miss Hennessey. The lovely Miss Hennessey. We're on the same vibe. It's all about plugs, connections, everybody being on a positive level. So definitely happy to have met you. Definitely will be following you and tapping into you. Shout out to my daughters. Thanking them for having the patience for me doing everything I do. Shout out to my Certified Nation Entertainment Squad, and then to the Birdhouse, and then just shout out to everybody who's going to tune into this. Just much love, everybody coming together.
Word. Thank you, ladies, both. My shout outs are short. Thinking about the holidays and holiday season makes me reflect on everything that's happened in 2021 and what a year it's been. I mean, oh my goodness. Another season of the podcast for us, but lots of things have happened, and I can't think of them all right now. But what I will say, if anything taught me in 2021 was that life is short. So you got to live life to the fullest, live it to your happiness, and whatever that happiness is, you find it, you hold on to it, because you only live once on this planet. So whatever makes you happy, or whoever keeps you happy, make sure you keep them around going into the next new year. So first off, shout out to Miss Hennessey, all the way from down under. Love to have you on board, Miss Hennessey. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Sam, and the Certified Nation Entertainment. Her whole movement, both these ladies are super busy. You guys follow both of them on Instagram. I have both their links on here. You guys go out there and check out what they're doing, what their ventures are. Shout out to my family, my kids, my grandkids, my mom, my dad, who watches every week. Let's see, who else? Shout out to everybody that was a part of season 4. I said that last week as well. Shout out to DB Entertainment, who had on there last week, wrap it up for Eminem. And of course, last but not least, shout out to Queen Jessica, Miss Connect the Dots. I cannot make moves or do anything without her. So thank you, babe. I love you. And much success to all of us in the future. So that's all that we have. We're going to wrap up 2021, you guys. I'll see you guys next year. Be safe. Wear your mask and stay hip hop. All right. See y'all soon, man. Peace.